Welcome everyone to Body Activation Explorations Torso Rotation. Today what we're going to do is we're going to be exploring how the whole body rotates. We're going to be starting with a journaling exercise. In this journaling exercise, I want you to record what do you currently feel? Like where in your body do you feel something? Then you accurately describe that feeling. And then how does it affect how you move? What we're going to do is between 6 to 12 repetitions each side. And each position should be pain-free with zero cramping. So do each one of these exercises at a very controlled pace. Don't rush them. And then we're going to journal the positions and the differences that you felt. So what we're really looking for is a position that's difficult to control and is pain-free. What we're first going to do is we're going to start with the rotation standing. And I'm just in a relaxed stance, and hopefully it feels okay to stand. Right? If this hurts when you stand, you can start in seated position, but really what we're trying to do is we're exploring each one of these main positions with a leg straight. So you can have a slight bend in the knee, that's fine. And what I'm doing is I'm slowly going from side to side. So it takes me about 3 to 4 seconds to go to my right, and then 3 to 4 seconds to go to my left. What I want you to focus on is gradually take your attention to your feet. And then gradually bring that attention to your knees. Then take that attention to your hips. Then take that attention throughout your whole spine, your shoulders, and finally your neck. And then work your way back down. See how each one of those pieces are affecting the other. Even the feet can really affect how the whole entire body is rotating because that's your contact point with the ground. Now I do this next exercise on my massage table. If you have a sofa, that can work really, really well, or even a bed. So what I do from here is I'm going to have my arms straight. Now, of course, if you're on a sofa, one of the ways that you would be rotating will be blocked by the sofa itself, so you only have one way to go. If you're on a bed, you can gradually take this side to side. And again, when I'm doing this, I'm making sure that I'm slow with my rotation. You notice that my arm stays in one spot, or I can take my arms completely out of the picture by crossing my chest. Now, this allows me to use my shoulders a little less. They're always going to be a part of this. It's just how much I want them influencing how I'm rotating. Notice how I'm rotating side to side, nice and slow. I'm just noticing how my body is rotating so that I can eventually take a note of that. Now I'm going to switch to my lower body. So I take the top part of my thigh on one side and I place the bottom of my other foot on the thigh so that from there I can turn my pelvis towards the opposite side. Now my shoulders stay nice and balanced. The shoulders remain on the table. And when I'm doing this, I keep the pace really slow because, again, this is one, if you've had any back problems, you can cramp up on. So take it slow and make sure that you feel it throughout the torso rather than the inner thigh of the foot that is on top of the thigh. So right here, my right groin should not be taking over this action. It's all about moving your pelvis on the rib cage. And notice how that feels and how much movement you get. Does it feel freer or does it feel limited? And then I'm going to exchange the legs and again perform it on the opposite side. Notice the pace of this turn. Again, it's pretty slow. I've had a history of back problems, so I am definitely taking my time with this exercise, making sure that I notice exactly how I feel, and then with what I feel is exactly what's going to be going into my journaling exercise, so I know where I'm okay and where I'm not okay. Now, if you're doing this next exercise on the floor, make sure that you have a comfortable mat. I have this table which is nice and cushy, and I take my top hand into the table to get some support on this one. Now, The reason I want a really cushy mat is because sometimes this can be a little harsh on the hip that's on the ground. So I keep my knees together. You notice that my feet are glued together on this one as well. And I try to take the torso down and the hips up. So I'm doing a counter rotation of the torso, keeping my torso on the table and then trying to lift the legs with the knees together. These side rotations are usually the most challenging. So again, take your time with it. If you cannot lift the legs very high, that's totally okay. Now we're going to be on our stomach. From here, I lightly lift the chest up off of the table, or if you're on the ground, and then lightly rotate towards my right shoulder. When I'm finished rotating over my right shoulder, I bring the chest all the way back down for a reset so that I can relax for just a little bit, just in case my back has trouble holding myself up, which can happen. So now I'm going to rinse and repeat this on the opposite side, where again, I'm seeing if I can lightly arch my back and bring my chest up off the table, and then gradually rotate over my left shoulder. I keep my feet on the ground or on the table here as well. Now hopefully you've been keeping track of which position seems to be the most difficult. Now we're going to do the lower body on the opposite side, where we try to keep the chest or the shoulder on the table, and I support my head with my right arm. So I just rest my head on my arm, and from here I can rotate the pelvis up and keep my chest in one spot, anchoring with that top hand. It's a little more difficult to see on this side, but if you noticed the first round, that top hand keeps a nice piece of support for the entire body. Here, when we're finished, I'm going to roll up from one side. I'm going to just relax in the seated position and practice my rotations just like when I was standing to see if it feels any different. So again, I'm in a seated position. You can do this in a chair or off the edge of your bed and just slowly check it side to side, making sure that it feels smooth, make sure that there is zero pinching, and then also keeping note of that. You can journal as you go because this gets pretty complex if we are not making notes as we go to try to remember what was the most difficult to control and pain-free. Now here comes the second round of journaling. We're going to take a look at, again, where do you feel the sensation now that you started with? Accurately describe it now, and notice exactly how you can move now compared to where you started. Now that we have an understanding of what position is the most difficult with zero pain, we are now going to use that position for our next exercise.